The massive crystal doors to the Galactic Council chamber parted with a sound like distant thunder. Admiral James Harrington stepped forward, his back straight despite the crushing 2.3 Earth gravity. Behind him walked the small human delegation, was Dr. Eleanor Reeves, General Marcus Torres, and Ambassador Thomas Wright, their faces carefully composed to hide any sign of awe or fear. The chamber stretched before them, a vast dome carved from a single asteroid, its walls lined with tiered seating that rose hundreds of feet. Representatives from 53 spacefaring species filled these seats, controlling between them over 6,000 inhabited worlds. Their varied forms arose from the crystalline Pyrians to the gaseous Nimbari contained in floating orbs, created a living tapestry of galactic diversity. At the center of the chamber stood the council dais, where the 9 most powerful species in known space presided. The council speaker, a 9-foot-tall viridian with translucent skin revealing pulsing internal organs, rose to address the humans. Humanity of Sol system, the speaker's voice boomed, automatically translated by the small devices in the human's ears. You stand before this council as representatives of a species that has violated the most sacred tenets of galactic law. Admiral Harrington's face remained impassive, though he noted how the vast alien audience seemed to lean forward, eager to witness humanity's humiliation. For 300 years, we have observed your kind, the speaker continued, skin shifting to a deep blue. You were discovered when your primitive radio signals first reached our monitoring stations. According to the Galactic Charter, developing species are to be studied, categorized, and guided toward eventual membership AMAR if deemed suitable. The speaker's inner organs pulsed rapidly, a sign of agitation that Harrington recognized from the briefing files. Instead, your species has demonstrated alarming traits. Your technological advancement has proceeded at 17 times the average rate. You weaponize each discovery before exploring its peaceful applications. You spread discord among your own kind despite sharing the same biology. These are not the traits of a species ready for galactic citizenship. Holographic displays appeared around the chamber, showing Earth's history, HFY wars, environmental damage, weapons tests. Each image carefully selected to portray humanity in the worst possible light. Furthermore, the speaker's voice grew harder. Our surveillance has detected prohibited research into faster-than-light travel, quantum entanglement communication, and dimensional phasing of our technologies restricted even to full council members. Humanity has violated containment protocols and must be addressed. The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement. Representatives from dozens of species gestured with appendages, tentacles, and energy fields in what humans would recognize as righteous indignation. The speaker raised 4 of its 6 limbs for silence. The council has voted. The sentence is containment and regression. Earth will be quarantined by a dimensional barrier. Your technology will be reduced to pre-industrial levels. You will be permitted to evolve again, perhaps more wisely over the next millennium. Admiral Harrington stepped forward, breaking protocol. The guards are massive reptilian Dracians with energy staffs and were tensed but did not intervene. With respect, honored council, Harrington spoke, his voice calm and measured. We request 72 hours to prepare our world for your judgment. The chamber erupted. Species that communicated through light flashed brilliant colors. Those that used chemical signals released clouds of particles that swirled through the air. The message was clear in any language. Outrage at human audacity. The speaker's skin flushed crimson. You misunderstand, human. This is not a negotiation. The barrier generators are already positioning around your solar system. The regression field will activate within 30 hours. Harrington smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Neither is what comes next. As council guards moved forward, Harrington tapped his wrist communicator twice. Simultaneously, every display in the council chamber flickered. The images of Earth's wars replaced by new feeds. Real-time footage of unmarked human vessels appearing near the homeworlds of each council species. The chamber fell silent. We discovered your surveillance network 27 years ago, Harrington explained calmly. Did you truly believe we wouldn't notice the quantum distortions from your observation posts? We've been watching you watching us. We've mapped every homeworld, every colony, every strategic asset in council space. On the displays, the unmarked ships held position, making no aggressive moves, but their message was clear. Humanity evolved as prey animals, Harrington continued. Our distant ancestors were hunted before they learned to become hunters themselves. When threatened, we don't flee or submit. We assess, adapt, and overcome. Always. Dr. Eleanor Reeves stepped forward now, her voice carrying the authority of Earth's leading xenobiologist. Your evaluation of humanity is flawed, she said. You measured our technological growth but failed to understand our psychological makeup. You monitored our conflicts but missed our capacity for unity against external threats. You cataloged our weapons but overlooked why we create them and because we evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. General Torres moved to stand beside her. The vessels you see are only a fraction of our fleet. For 50 years we've been preparing for first contact. We hoped for friendship. We prepared for war. That's what humans do. Ambassador Wright completed the human line. 3 days. Reconsider your verdict. Remove your barrier generators. Recognize Earth as a sovereign power, not a subject for your experiments. Or find out what happens when you threaten a species that clawed its way to sentience against all odds. The speaker's skin had turned almost white, a sign of extreme stress. This is unprecedented. The Council does not respond to threats. This isn't a threat, Harrington replied. It's a statement of fact. Humanity wants peace. We want trade, cultural exchange, and mutual growth. But if you force this conflict, understand that humans don't fight for victory. We fight for survival. He gestured to the displays showing human ships near alien worlds. 3 days. Choose wisely. As the human delegation turned to leave, violating every protocol of the Council, Ambassador Wright paused to address the silent chamber one last time. We've studied your histories. We know the Council has done this before to other species. Some you reduced to pre-technological states. Others you eliminated entirely when they resisted. We're not like them. We're human, and that word should mean something to you from now on. The crystal doors closed behind the humans with the same thunderous sound. In the vast chamber, 53 species sat in stunned silence, faced with something none of their strategic models had predicted. Developing species that had secretly prepared for the very moment the Council had thought them most vulnerable. The Viridian speaker turned to the Arcturan High Commander, whose adaptive armor rippled with calculation patterns. How did they achieve this level of technology without detection? The speaker whispered. The Arcturan's mechanical voice was grim. They didn't build ships, weapons, or barriers that we would recognize. They built something far more dangerous. What? A united human front. Our psychological profiles predicted internal conflicts would keep them fractured for centuries. Outside the chamber, aboard the human diplomatic vessel, Admiral Harrington gazed at the spectacular orbital structures of the Council nexus. The true test would begin now. The Council had 3 days to decide between peace and war, and humanity had 3 days to prepare for either outcome. Aboard the heavily guarded diplomatic vessel Artemis, Ambassador Thomas Wright sat across from the hastily assembled Galactic Conciliation Committee. The Council's Grand Chamber had been deemed too public for these emergency negotiations. Instead, they met in a plain room with only a single table and no windows to the stars outside. Wright studied his counterparts, one representatives from the Aldari, Triskelion, and Morrigan species. Each had been chosen for their reputation as moderates within the Council structure. The Aldari diplomat, Zell, clicked his mandibles nervously, his insectoid eyes reflecting the harsh light of the room. The Triskelion representative, a 3-headed being named Vorn, kept all 6 eyes trained on Wright. The Morrigan diplomat, Ambassador Lear, resembled a tall human female but for her silver skin and completely black eyes. Your demonstration was provocative, Ambassador, began Zell, antennae twitching, but it only proves the Council's point. Your kind advances too quickly, too recklessly. You deployed stealth technology beyond our detection capabilities without oversight or restraint. Wright leaned forward. Yet you sentenced our entire species without consultation or warning. The Council has been manipulating humanity's development for centuries, restricting our expansion while harvesting resources from our solar system. He activated a small projector on his wrist. Images appeared between them on covert Council operations within Earth's sphere of influence. Mining drones disguised as asteroids, surveillance platforms hidden in Earth's moon, subspace transmitters embedded in the Kuiper Belt. We detected your first scouts 19 years ago, Wright continued. A harvester drone that crashed in the Pacific Ocean. Officially reported as a meteor, but its technology told a different story. Ambassador Lear's silver face remained expressionless. You speak as though the Council's observation violated some right. Your species had not achieved interstellar travel. Under galactic law, pre-FTL civilizations are subject to study and guided development. Guided development? Wright's voice remained calm despite his rising anger. Is that what you call genetic tampering with human DNA? Targeted electromagnetic pulses to disable promising technologies? Engineered conflicts to keep our nations divided? He projected more evidence on Council operatives manipulating Earth governments. Economic sabotage. Suppressed technologies. We have been more than patient, Wright said. For nearly 2 decades, we've documented your interference while developing countermeasures in secret. Not because humans want war, but because your Council gave us no choice but to prepare for one. Meanwhile, deep in the Artemis laboratory, Dr. Eleanor Reeves worked frantically, analyzing data stolen during their Council chamber infiltration. The ship's quantum computers processed information at speeds impossible for human minds to comprehend. Holographic displays surrounded her, showing molecular structures, energy patterns, and transmission logs. There, she whispered, isolating a particular data stream. Captain Reed, I need secure communication with Earth immediately. The ship's captain nodded. The Council is monitoring all standard channels. We'll have to use the quantum entanglement link. Reeves's fingers danced across the interface as she compiled her findings. Her face grew paler with each confirmation. The Council never intended to negotiate, she said. According to these logs, they launched their contingency plan 6 hours ago, Susao, before our delegation even left the chamber. Reed leaned closer to examine the data. What kind of contingency? A targeted pathogen, Reeves explained, bringing up a rotating model of a complex molecular structure. Designed to collapse human civilization without detection. It attacks neural pathways related to technological comprehension and complex reasoning, but leaves basic survival functions intact. Within weeks, humanity would lose the ability to maintain industrial society, reverting to a pre-technological state, just as the Council decreed. Reed's expression hardened. How far has it spread? It's everywhere, Reeves said. Released simultaneously from Council observation posts hidden throughout Earth's atmosphere. Transmitting through standard air currents, nearly undetectable because it bonds with common atmospheric elements. Effects? Gradual. Designed to mimic natural cognitive decline. They wanted it to seem like humanity simply lost its technological edge naturally. She looked up, her eyes reflecting both scientific fascination and horror. But there's something strange about this bioweapon. Its structure contains quantum entanglement markers. On another deck of the Artemis, General Marcus Torres coordinated with Earth's defense network. Holographic displays showed the position of every Council vessel, the status of Earth's defenses, and the location of humanity's secret fleet. Status of Operation Mirage? Torres asked. Colonel Diane Reynolds gestured to a tactical display. All projectors functioning at full capacity, General. The Council still believes our ships near their homeworlds are armed vessels. In reality, they're nothing but sophisticated holograms and broadcasting equipment, Torres finished. A bluff to buy us time. Reynolds nodded.
72 hours before the Council discovers the truth.
Or before our projectors run out of power, whichever comes first. Torres studied the displays showing the massive Council fleet mobilizing throughout the galaxy. They're preparing for war while pretending to negotiate. Typical. His secure communicator chimed. Dr. Reeves's face appeared, her expression grave. General, we have a situation. The Council has already deployed a biological weapon against Earth. According to my analysis, symptoms will begin manifesting globally in approximately 40 hours. Torres's expression didn't change, but his eyes hardened. Can you develop a countermeasure? Working on it, Reeves replied. But there's something unusual about this pathogen. It contains quantum entanglement signatures linking it to the Council's biological security network. I believe it's a safeguard to prevent it being turned against them. Torres exchanged glances with Reynolds. Or a weakness we can exploit. Back in the negotiation room, Ambassador Wright continued his carefully choreographed performance vows, keeping the committee distracted while Earth scientists and military worked to counter the Council's attack. We propose full diplomatic recognition, Wright said. Earth joins the galactic community as an independent power, not a subject race. We establish mutually beneficial trade agreements, cultural exchanges, Scientific collaboration. Zell's mandibles clicked rapidly. Impossible. No species has ever joined the Council as an equal from first contact. There are stages of development, trials to pass on. The trials are political theater, Wright interrupted, designed to ensure new species enter as subordinates, not equals. We've studied your histories. The Prenier civilization was more advanced than yours when you discovered them. You forced them through your trials for 2 centuries until they were thoroughly under Council control. Vorn, the Triskelion, spoke for the first time, 3 voices in perfect harmony. You speak dangerously, human. There are forces at work beyond your understanding. The Council maintains order in a galaxy that would descend into chaos without our guidance. Wright leaned back. What we understand is that the Council fears competition. You discovered Earth, expected another primitive species to eventually join your hierarchy, and instead found humans adaptable, innovative, and unwilling to submit. So you decided to cage us before we became a threat. Your vessels near our homeworlds are the act of a threat, Ambassador Lear said coldly. They're the act of a species unwilling to be exterminated without response, Wright corrected. Remove your barrier generators from our system. Recognize Earth's sovereignty. Then we can discuss the removal of our ships from your territories. As the negotiations continued, a coded message reached Wright's communicator. Dr. Reeves had discovered the Council's bioweapon. Humanity's 72-hour deadline had just become much shorter. Wright maintained his diplomatic facade, but inwardly he prepared for what would come next. The Council's war had already begun in secret. Humanity's survival now depended on what happened in the next 40 hours. And unknown to the Council, humanity had been preparing for this moment since they first discovered they weren't alone in the universe. Earth had developed technologies and strategies specifically designed to counter a technologically superior enemy. The true test was about to begin. The emergency session of Earth's Unified Command gathered in a reinforced bunker 2 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. 27 military leaders, scientists, and government officials sat around a circular table, their faces illuminated by the harsh blue glow of holographic displays. Dr. Eleanor Reeves stood before them, her exhausted face showing the strain of 36 hours without sleep. The molecular structure of the Council's pathogen rotated slowly above the table. We have approximately 40 hours before symptoms manifest globally, she explained, her voice steady despite her fatigue. The pathogen targets neural pathways associated with technological comprehension and complex reasoning. Within 3 weeks, the human race would lose the ability to maintain industrial civilization, exactly as the Council decreed. Defense Secretary Wilson leaned forward. Can it be stopped? Conventional methods, no, Reeves replied. The pathogen bonds with oxygen molecules and spreads through normal atmospheric circulation. It's already present in every corner of the planet. Traditional countermeasures would take months to develop and years to distribute globally. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. However, Reeves continued, there's something strange about this bioweapon. Its structure contains quantum entanglement markers. Commander Darius Jackson, head of Earth's Quantum Defense Division, stood up. You're saying they're using quantum mechanics in a biological attack? Yes, and it may be our salvation, Reeves replied. The quantum signature suggests they've linked the pathogen to their own biological security systems, a safeguard to prevent it being turned against them. Jackson's eyes widened as he understood. A two-way connection? Precisely, Reeves nodded. Operation Mirror might be viable. The holographic display changed, showing a schematic of what appeared to be a simple metal device approximately the size of a refrigerator. For those unfamiliar, Jackson explained to the room, Operation Mirror was developed as a theoretical countermeasure to quantum-based attacks. It's based on the principle that entangled particles affect each other instantaneously, regardless of distance. If the Council's pathogen is quantum-linked to their biological defense network, we can use that link to redirect the pathogen back to its source, Reeves finished. Secretary Wilson looked skeptical. That's possible? In theory, Jackson said. But we'd need direct access to a node in the Council's quantum network. Without that, we can't establish the reverse connection. Admiral Harrington, who had been silent until now, spoke from his position at the head of the table. That's where Operation Europa comes in. The display changed again, showing Jupiter's ice-covered moon. 3 years ago, We detected unusual energy signatures beneath Europa's surface, Harrington explained. Our probes discovered a hidden Council observation post. We've been monitoring it since, waiting for the right moment to make use of it. On the other side of the solar system, that moment had arrived. A stealth transport descended through Europa's thin atmosphere, landing on the icy surface 3 kilometers from the Council facility. 6 figures in specialized environmental suits emerged, their movements precise and practiced. Captain Maya Ortiz led her team across the frozen landscape, each step carefully placed to minimize seismic detection. "Approach vector clear," reported Lieutenant Davis through their secure communication system. "Facility defenses still automated. No sign they've increased security." "They still think we're primitive monkeys," Ortiz replied. "Let's use that arrogance against them." The Council facility was disguised as a natural formation, a ridge of ice that would appear unremarkable on scans. But Ortiz's team had spent months studying every detail of its construction. They approached a specific section where the ice was exactly 2.7 meters thick. Thin enough for their specialized equipment. "Plant the penetrators," Ortiz ordered. The team placed 3 devices against the ice, each activated with a soft hum, melting through the frozen barrier without producing detectable energy signatures. Within minutes, they had created an entry point into the facility's outer maintenance corridor. "We're in," Ortiz reported to Mission Control, proceeding to Phase 2. Inside the observation post, automated systems monitored Earth. The Council had staffed this outpost with only a minimal crew, 2 sentinels who rotated 4-month shifts. The current observer, a Proxian named Trell, sat before the monitoring station, 6 eyes focused on data streams from Earth. The humans had been surprisingly quiet since their confrontation in the Council chamber. Their vessels remained near Council homeworlds but had made no aggressive moves. Perhaps they were coming to terms with their inevitable subjugation. A small alert flashed on one of Trell's secondary screens. A minor temperature fluctuation in the outer corridor. Probably another ice shift. Europa was geologically active, making it ideal for concealing the base but requiring constant minor maintenance. Trell dispatched a repair drone to investigate. In the corridor, Ortiz's team heard the drone approaching. "Incoming," warned Lieutenant Davis. "Hold positions," Ortiz commanded. As the drone rounded the corner, she activated a small device on her wrist. The drone paused, its systems momentarily confused by the replicated authorization code. Before it could reset, Lieutenant Parker attached a small device to its underside. "Patch complete," Parker whispered. "We now have access to its visual feed." The drone continued its inspection, finding nothing unusual, and returned to its bay. Through its compromised systems, Ortiz's team now had a map of the facility's interior and the location of its lone occupant. "Target identified," Ortiz reported, moving to secure the quantum relay. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Ambassador Wright continued negotiations with the Council representatives, though both sides now knew they were merely going through the motions. The Council had voted to accelerate humanity's punishment, launching their armada toward Earth while maintaining the pretense of diplomatic engagement. "Your proposal remains unacceptable," Ambassador Lear stated coldly. "The Council has voted. Earth will submit to containment and technological regression. This is not negotiable," Wright maintained his diplomatic facade. "Then I'm afraid we've reached an impasse. Humanity will not accept subjugation. Your alternative is extinction," Zell chittered, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Your ships may threaten our homeworlds, but our combined fleet outnumbers yours 1,000 to 1. Wright smiled thinly. "Numbers aren't everything in warfare, as humanity's own history demonstrates. But we still prefer peace. Perhaps if I spoke directly to the High Council." "That will not be possible," Lear interrupted. "The Council has declared these negotiations concluded. You and your delegation will remain here while our fleet secures your solar system." Guards entered the room. 4 massive Dracians with energy staffs. Wright and the human negotiators were placed under arrest, their communications equipment confiscated. As Wright was led away, he caught a glimpse of a view screen showing the Council fleet approaching Earth over thousands of warships, each capable of devastating a continent. But instead of fear, Wright felt a calm certainty. The Council didn't realize they'd fallen into humanity's trap. Their own weapons were about to be turned against them in a way they never imagined possible. Beneath Europa's ice, Captain Ortiz's team had reached the central chamber of the observation post. The Proxian observer lay unconscious, subdued with a neural disruptor calibrated to his specific biology. Lieutenant Parker worked at the main console, bypassing security protocols. "I've located the quantum relay," Parker reported. "It's linked directly to the Council's biological defense network, just as Dr. Reeves predicted." Ortiz nodded. "Establish the connection for Operation Mirror." Parker's fingers flew across the alien interface. "Connection established. Transmitting the reverse sequence now." Through the quantum link, the specially designed counter-signal began its work, not destroying the pathogen already spread through Earth's atmosphere, but altering its quantum signature to target its creators instead of humans. On Earth, Dr. Reeves monitored the operation from the Unified Command Center. "Signal confirmed," she announced. "The pathogen's molecular structure is reconfiguring. The quantum entanglement is working. How soon until we know if it's effective?" Secretary Wilson asked. "The redirected pathogen will take approximately 12 hours to affect Council worlds," Reeves explained. "But their biological monitoring systems should detect the change almost immediately." Admiral Harrington nodded grimly. "Which means we need to prepare for their response. The moment they realize what we've done, they'll abandon all pretense of negotiation." "The fleet is ready," General Torres confirmed. "Operation Blackout is standing by." As humanity prepared for the Council's wrath, the massive alien fleet continued its approach to Earth, weapons primed for a swift and decisive victory. They had no idea that the humans had already launched their counter-striker, using the Council's own weapons against them in a way they never anticipated. The true battle was about to begin. The Council armada surrounded Earth, thousands of warships eclipsing the sun in a terrifying display of power. Their massive vessels, some the size of small moons, positioned themselves in a perfect containment formation. Weapon systems activated, generating energy readings that human sensors struggled to measure. In homes and shelters across the planet, billions watched the skies darken as humanity faced its greatest threat. Despite the fear, there was little panic. After the Council's intentions became clear, Earth's governments had presented a unified front, revealing decades of secret preparations for this very moment. Aboard the Council command vessel, the Viridian speaker addressed humanity via global broadcast, his translucent skin glowing with righteous purpose. "People of Earth," the speaker's voice echoed through every communication device on the planet, "your leaders have rejected our judgment. Their deception and aggression leave us no choice but to accelerate your sentence. Surrender now and accept technological regression or face extinction." The broadcast cut to Admiral Harrington, now back on Earth, standing in what appeared to be an ordinary warehouse. Behind him stood a simple metal device no larger than a refrigerator, Project Lazarus, the quantum mirror Dr. Reeves and Commander Jackson had prepared. "You still don't understand humans, do you?" Harrington said calmly. "We don't think like you. We prepare for worst-case scenarios as a matter of course." He gestured to the device. "This is Project Lazarus. For 50 years, while you thought you were monitoring our nuclear capabilities, we were developing quantum-entangled defense systems. Your pathogen is already reverting to target your species, not ours." In the Council command vessel, alarms began sounding as monitoring stations detected the change in the pathogen's quantum signature. The Viridian speaker's skin paled to nearly white as reports flooded in from Council worlds around. The bioweapon was now affecting their own populations. "Impossible," the speaker hissed. "Quantum reversal would require direct access to our network." The Arcturan High Commander's adaptive armor rippled with calculations. "The Europa outpost. It must be compromised. Destroy it immediately," ordered the speaker. "Too late," the commander replied. "The reversal is complete. The pathogen is fully deployed against our worlds." The speaker's rage manifested as a deep crimson glow beneath his translucent skin. "Launch the attack! Eradicate these primitives before they can cause more damage." Throughout the Council fleet, weapon systems powered to maximum capacity, targeting computers locked onto Earth's major cities, military installations, and power grids. The order to fire propagated through the command network, but nothing happened. Across the massive armada, weapons failed to discharge. Navigation systems returned to neutral positions. Communication networks fell silent. Confusion spread through the Council fleet as ship after ship reported critical system failures. On the command vessel, The speaker turned to the Arcturan commander. "What is happening?" Before the commander could respond, Admiral Harrington's voice came through their communication system, a feat that should have been impossible given the Council's security protocols. "We warned you," Harrington said. "Humans don't fight like other species. We've been studying quantum entanglement for decades. The Council uses it for everything: rare communication, weapon synchronization, navigation. We've been silently infiltrating your network since you first contacted us." In the unified command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Torres activated Earth's true defense system, not weapons, but a planetary quantum field that turned the Council's own technology against them. Ships lost power, life support systems faltered, and command structures collapsed. "Operation Blackout is working," Torres reported to the gathered leaders. 87% of Council vessels are experiencing critical system failures. The remaining 13% are operating on isolated systems, but are effectively blind and unable to coordinate defense. Secretary Wilson stared at the tactical display showing the massive Council fleet reduced to drifting metal shells. "My God, did we just win a war without firing a shot?" "Not entirely," Torres replied grimly. "Some Council races don't rely on quantum technology, and their leadership will recover from the initial shock. This is just the first phase." Across the galaxy, on Council homeworlds and colonies, chaos erupted. The pathogen that had been meant to reduce humanity to a pre-industrial state was now affecting Council species. Their own biological defense systems, designed to protect against exactly this kind of attack, had been compromised by the quantum reversal. On Viridia, the speaker's homeworld, the first cases appeared in major population centers. Individuals suddenly unable to operate technology, their advanced comprehension fading. The Aldari colonies reported similar effects, with specialists in crucial technical fields suddenly unable to perform their duties. Back on Earth, Dr. Reeves monitored the biological aspects of the counterattack. "The pathogen is working as predicted," she reported, "but I've modified the quantum signature to limit its spread and potency. Unlike the Council, we're not targeting entire populations for permanent regression." "Why show mercy?" asked one of the military leaders. "They wouldn't have hesitated to destroy us." Admiral Harrington stepped forward. "Because we're human. Our goal isn't revenge or domination. It's survival and recognition as equals. We need to demonstrate both our power and our restraint." In space, the paralyzed Council fleet hung motionless. On the command vessel, emergency systems had activated, providing minimal functionality. The speaker gathered with the High Council members still able to reach the command center. "How did they do this?" demanded the Morrigan representative, her silver skin dull with stress. "Their technology should be centuries behind ours." The Arcturan commander's armor had stopped its calculations, reduced to basic functions. "They didn't advance along the paths we expected. While we watched for energy weapons and propulsion systems, they focused on quantum manipulation and biological countermeasures, our fields we considered theoretical at their stage of development." "We must retaliate," the speaker insisted. "Launch the autonomous attack drones. They operate on isolated systems immune to quantum interference." "Already deployed," the commander confirmed. 20,000 units targeting Earth's major population centers. The attack drones, each the size of a small shuttle hour, descended toward Earth's atmosphere. Unlike the main fleet, these weapons operated on closed systems specifically designed to function during communication blackouts. On Earth, defense systems activated. From hidden installations around the planet, countermeasures launched not missiles or energy weapons, but clouds of microscopic machines that swarmed around the incoming drones. "Nano countermeasures deployed," reported General Torres, neutralizing autonomous attack units. The nano machines infiltrated the Council drones, disrupting their guidance systems and weapon controls. Most of the drones veered off course, falling harmlessly into the ocean or uninhabited areas. Those that continued were intercepted by Earth's conventional defense systems or kinetic kill vehicles and directed energy weapons that had been disguised as satellites or space debris for decades. In the unified command center, leaders watched as the Council's attack was systematically dismantled. "Second wave neutralized," Torres confirmed. "Minimal casualties. 3 population centers suffered minor damage before countermeasures took effect." Admiral Harrington nodded solemnly. "Prepare for Phase 3. The Council leadership needs to understand their position. Aboard the Council command vessel, The remaining functional screens showed Earth's successful defense against the drone attack. The speaker's skin had faded to a sickly gray as he faced the unthinkable Lao defeat at the hands of a species they had considered primitive just days ago. A communication request chimed through the emergency system. Despite protocol violations, the speaker accepted it. Admiral Harrington's face appeared on the main display. "This conflict can end now," Harrington said without preamble. "Your fleet is disabled but not destroyed. Your populations are affected by your own weapon, but we've limited its impact and duration. We can provide the cure once terms are agreed upon." "Terms?" the speaker hissed. "The Council does not negotiate with equals?" Harrington interrupted. "You'll have to learn. Earth demands recognition as a sovereign power, not a subject race. We want representation in galactic affairs proportionate to our capabilities, which you now understand better. We want access to Council technology and scientific knowledge with reciprocal sharing of our own advances." The speaker's skin flushed briefly with anger before returning to gray resignation. "And if we refuse?" Harrington's expression remained neutral. "Then we continue. The quantum field affecting your ships can be modified to permanently disable their core systems. The pathogen currently affecting your populations can be adjusted to accelerate and expand its effects. We would rather not take these steps, but we will if necessary." Silence fell over the Council chamber as the implications became clear. Humanity had not only defended itself against overwhelming odds, but had turned the Council's own weapons and technology against them. 3 months after what historians now called the 7-Day War, humanity stood in a transformed galaxy. The once Grand Council chambers on Proxima Centauri had been repurposed as headquarters for the newly formed Galactic Reconstruction Authority. Gone were the hierarchical tiers that had placed the founding races above all others. In their place stood a circular arrangement where representatives from all species sat as equals. Ambassador Thomas Wright led the human delegation into these transformed chambers, accompanied by Dr. Eleanor Reeves and General Torres. Admiral Harrington had remained on Earth, coordinating humanity's rapid expansion into the solar system now that Council restrictions had been lifted. The chamber fell quiet as Wright took his position at the central podium. Around him sat representatives from 27 former Council species and 16 newly liberated civilizations who had suffered under Council rule for centuries. 3 months ago, Wright began, humanity faced extinction at the hands of a governing body that claimed to represent galactic civilization. Today, we gather to ensure such threats never again endanger any species. The holographic displays throughout the chamber activated, showing the truth that had been hidden for millennia. The Council had maintained its power by systematically suppressing technological advancement of younger species while presenting themselves as benevolent guardians. The old Council didn't merely observe developing worlds, Wright continued. They actively sabotaged promising civilizations, engineered conflicts to keep potentially competitive species divided, and harvested resources from inhabited systems while their populations remained unaware. Images showed Council operatives infiltrating dozens of worlds, manipulating their development to ensure they would enter galactic society as subordinates, not equals. In some cases, species that developed too quickly or showed too much independence were reduced to pre-industrial states through biological or technological means. Others were eliminated entirely. Earth would have been just another in this long list of victims. Many representatives shifted uncomfortably. Some had been complicit in these actions, others merely unaware of the full scope of Council operations. Humanity does not seek revenge for these crimes, Wright assured them. We seek reform. The Galactic Reconstruction Authority represents a new approach to interstellar governance, one based on mutual respect, technological cooperation, and shared security. In the medical wing of the former Council complex, Dr. Reeves supervised the distribution of the cure for the redirected pathogen. Council medical staff had been astonished by how quickly humans had developed an effective treatment. The quantum entanglement signatures were the key, Reeves explained to a group of Aldari medical officers. Once we understood how the pathogen targeted neural pathways, we could develop a counteragent that severed the quantum link without damaging the surrounding tissue. The lead Aldari clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Yet you could have withheld this cure, ensured your dominance by leaving our populations vulnerable. Reeves smiled. That would have been counterproductive. Humanity doesn't want subjects or servants. We want partners. Besides, the effects were always designed to be temporary, just long enough to demonstrate that we could defend ourselves. A most unusual approach to warfare, the Aldari observed. Most conquering species in our history sought to crush their opponents completely. We're not conquerors, Reeves replied. We're survivors who prefer cooperation to conflict whenever possible. It's a distinction that the old council never understood. In another section of the complex, General Torres met with military representatives from various species. The displays showed the systematic dismantling of the old council's secret weapons programs, Orcs planet killers, star destabilizers, and dimensional disruptors that had been developed in violation of the council's own laws. These weapons violated every principle the council claimed to uphold, Torres explained. They were developed not for defense but to ensure absolute compliance from member races. The Arcturan commander, his adaptive armor now operating at reduced capacity, nodded in acknowledgement. The founding species grew fearful over the millennia. Fear led to control, control to oppression. A pattern humanity knows well from our own history, Torres replied, which is why the new authority will maintain complete transparency in military capabilities. No hidden arsenals, no secret research programs. The Morrigan representative, her silver skin reflecting the light, spoke up. And what guarantees do we have that humans will abide by these same principles? You demonstrated technological capabilities beyond our expectations. Torres activated a different display, showing Earth's quantum defense network being reconfigured. As we speak, human scientists are documenting and sharing every aspect of the technology that defeated the Council fleet. In return, we ask for equal access to propulsion and energy production technologies that were previously restricted. In a private conference room away from the main chambers, Wright met with representatives from 7 former Council species: Arus the Viridians, Aldari, Triskelians, Morrigans, Arcturans, Proxians, and Nimbari. These races had formed the core of the old Council's power structure. The Viridian delegati, not the former speaker, who had been removed from power, shifted uncomfortably. Many among our populations question how humanity achieved such a decisive victory. Some suggest you had assistance, Wright smiled. In a manner of speaking, we did. The Council's own surveillance gave us decades of intelligence about your technologies and weaknesses. Your harvesting operations in our solar system provided samples of advanced materials. Your attempts to suppress our development forced us to innovate in unexpected directions. But the quantum manipulation technology, pressed the Proxian representative. Even our most advanced scientists considered such precise control theoretical at best. Humans are particularly good at achieving the theoretical, Wright replied. We evolved on a planet that constantly tried to kill us. Our distant ancestors survived by outthinking predators that were stronger and faster. That mindset never left us. We're always preparing for threats, always looking for unexpected solutions. The Arcturan representative's armor rippled with calculations. Our models predicted a 97% probability of successful containment. How did we miscalculate so drastically? You based your models on previous species, Wright explained, none of whom had our particular combination of traits. Our paranoia, our adaptability, our willingness to cooperate against external threats despite our internal differences. Humans don't fight like other species because we evolved differently. Wright activated a small projector showing Earth's history, not the carefully selected images of war and destruction the Council had used, but a complete picture showing humanity's struggles, triumphs, artistic achievements, and scientific discoveries. We never wanted war, Wright continued. Humans spent centuries fighting among ourselves before we learned a crucial lesson. True strength comes from cooperation, not domination. We didn't defeat the Council with superior weapons, but with superior thinking and a willingness to show restraint when we had the advantage. As the meeting concluded, a transmission arrived from deep space, a Bauer's contact, from previously unknown civilizations that had hidden from Council detection for millennia. They had watched the conflict unfold, and now sought alliance with humanity and the new authority. On the observation deck of the New Earth Embassy on the former Council capital world, Admiral Harrington stood gazing at the stars. The view was different here, new constellations, unfamiliar patterns of light. But the sense of possibility was the same. A young diplomat, Lieutenant Maria Chen, joined him at the window. Recently assigned to the diplomatic corps, she had not participated in the confrontation with the Council, but would help shape humanity's future in the galaxy. Was there ever a moment when you thought we might lose? She asked. Harrington considered the question. Several. The Council's resources vastly outnumbered ours. Their technology was advanced beyond our understanding in many areas. If they had recognized the threat we posed earlier, they might have eliminated Earth before we developed countermeasures. What made the difference? They underestimated us, Harrington replied. And they overestimated themselves. A dangerous combination in any conflict, Chen nodded. Looking out at the alien city stretching below them are metropolis built over thousands of years by a civilization that had considered itself the pinnacle of galactic development. The history books are already calling it humanity's greatest victory, she said. The war that established our place in the galaxy. Harrington shook his head. The true test isn't winning a war, but what you build afterward. The Council ruled through fear for millennia. We have the opportunity to create something better. A galactic community based on mutual respect and cooperation. Do you think we can succeed where they failed? Chen asked. I do, Harrington said, because we understand something the Council never did. Diversity isn't a weakness to be controlled, but a strength to be embraced. Different perspectives, different approaches, different